Up until the Nicene Conference of Bishops in 325, when Rome, under the order of Constantine, the Roman emperor, ordered the 219 bishops at Nicaea, and they took away Christianity from the Africans. Just remember that before they said Jesus was born in a manger in Bethlehem, they said he was born in a cave in Ethiopia. It was at the Nicene Conference that changed that. In 325 AD, Constantine, the Roman emperor, ordered a conference be held because Rome wanted to take over Christianity from the people who started it. There is no major university, major library in Europe I have never been to. There's no major library in Asia or Africa I have never been to. I have been to every one of the major tombs and temples of Egypt and got the pictures and read the hieroglyphs and everything like that.
The Nuba Mountains of southeastern Sudan, or the biblical Mount Nebo. This is where Moses, right before his death, was ordered to climb the highest mountain in the mountain chains, which the Bible refers to as Abarim, to get a full view of the Promised Land, without violating the ban on entering the borders of Canaan. Moses, from the peak of the Nuba Mountains of Sudan, which, as we will see in a following episode, was located on the borders of the Holy Land, got a full view of the Promised Land of Canaan. He got a view of central and northern Ethiopia. He saw the mountains, the rivers, of the land that would later be conquered and inhabited by his people for more than 1,000 years, a land which they would conquer just a few months after his death. And after getting a full view of Canaan, Moses died and was buried in this same area. And according to the Bible, Moses was buried by God himself in an undisclosed location, where his body lies to this day, somewhere in the troubled Darfur region of southeastern Sudan.
What would be the greatest blunder in academic history? The misplacement of the biblical Holy Land. And this ahistorical tradition grew even bigger after the birth of Christianity, with the Catholic Church furthering this misreading of history through its teachings and writings, which it copied from these very same Jews, and spread throughout the Christian world. A couple of centuries passed by, and the Muslims adopt this tradition as well. Using a rabbi as his tour guide, the second Caliph Omar, after capturing modern-day Jerusalem, was pointed to an empty quarter in this city and told that this was where the temple in Jerusalem once stood.
We entered a cathedral called the Resurrection. The patrician said, "This is David's temple." Umar radiallahu anhu gazed at it and pondered for a long while. "You lie," he said.
Right there he erected the very first mosque in Palestine, the Al-Aqsa Mosque, after the name used in the Quran for the ancient temple in Jerusalem. This misnomer would stick for another 1300 years. In the following centuries, Palestine became a war zone, with different religious groups and ideologies fighting over an insignificant territory that they believed to be holy. And their misreading of biblical history was further cemented by a 19th century phenomenon called biblical archaeology, with Bible-believing researchers identifying and naming different arbitrary sites in Palestine after biblical landmarks, and shoehorning these sites into biblical history. The 20th century comes, and a massive wave of convert Jews of European origin begin to migrate to Palestine. And within a few decades, these Jews become the majority population and form an independent state called Israel. This adds even more to the delusions. A misreading of history that originated in a primitive Iron Age society is now, more than 2,000 years later, still at the root of one of the longest lasting conflicts in human history, the conflict over the so-called Holy Land of Israel, with different groups still identifying an insignificant desert strip as the biblical Holy Land, and risking both life and safety over its possession and control.